He is, as promised. Gianni, how are you today?
I'm great, my man. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, of course, it's our pleasure. I'm going to switch over mics, and we're good to go there. Pop that. And now I'm back on here. All right, so like I said, as promised, and I asked, we talked to certain people, and I said, I'd love to have Gianni on, and the guy's like, Greg, we'll find out. We'll see if Gianni come on. He's a pretty cool guy and everything. Let him check it. I said, yeah, I'm a paisan from Jersey. Come on, it'll be good. You know what? The fact that you're even here, though, Gianni is just, I'm thrilled. So thank you so much, sir.
Now,
Uh,
it's funny that you mentioned Paisan because I was in Jersey all weekend at Paisano Con.
I know. Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I wanted to go over and see you over there. It's not far. That was in Fairfield, New Jersey, which is maybe 10 minutes from my house. And I couldn't get over there. And I'm so disappointed, but there'll be another time. And
Well,
I
we're
told,
doing a lot of them. Every 90 days, we're doing one in every major city,
oh,
East
wow.
End of Boston, Providence, Rhode Island, Connecticut. It was a great success.
Yeah, it was a good turnout, a great turnout, and I saw some of the stuff on Instagram, some of the pictures that were sent over to me, and it looks like you were having a good time and a lot of. I mean, it's fun. It's just
I
like
have a
that's
good time in a phone booth.
that's right because you're Superman. All
Give me
right,
get, give me a bunch of Italians in one room. Forget about it. How could you not have fun?
so forget about it's right. Yeah, I know. All right, well. I mean, there are so many things. And I mean, we'll show a couple of clips, and obviously, people know you as Carlo Rizzi. And I mean, The Godfather is like, come on, that especially for an Italian that grew up like me. I'm half Calabrese, half Sicilian. So for us, it was probably right after Sesame Street. It was probably the first thing I watched right after that.
That's a
But
great comparison, Sesame Street and The Godfather.
I worked on that for almost 10 seconds, Gianni. I did. I kind of fly by the seat of my pants. But you know what? It's all organic and it's all real. And you are real. I've seen you, and I'm sure a lot of people have, because you have spanned over generations, meaning that yeah, you got the 70s and then the 80s. Now, I mean, you were always active, always hireable, all this. I mean, but forget about the stories. The real stuff that has happened to you is way more, not only, I wouldn't say entertaining, but so interesting because you're here talking about it. I mean, someone could say, hey, what did Gianni tell? Why ask me? You're right there. Let them ask you. So
Well,
uh,
it's interesting because as you pointed out, my beginnings were I call them obstacles. I've gone through so many obstacles in my life and overcame them all. But the earliest one was polio in 1949, when probably most of your listeners weren't even born. I was
yeah,
quarantined in Belleview for 5 years straight with no connection to outside family or anybody else other than Dolores Barone. And why I mentioned that lady's name, if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't be here because I was giving up in the third or fourth month already, like so many other kids. We were in a 20-bed ward in a New York State hospital. And I don't know if your audience is familiar with Bellevue. It's still there,
yeah, it
but it's,
is.
it's gone to city blocks now. But I was in the first one on 31st Street and the East End, and it wasn't a pretty place to be and watch 2,300 kids die. So just to survive that, and here I am now at 81, still talking about it. I'm blessed.
That you are, sir. 23. Wow. How old were you when you said you spent a 5 year stint there? When did you go in? How old were you?
I went in when I was 6 and I came out when I was 12.
Wow. And
I
back
was there
then,
5 years straight.
five
I
years
went
straight.
in
So,
August and came out basically August again.
and what a lot of people might or might not know, I'm guessing, not from, unless they have a little bit of age on them. Back then, these type of places, I mean, that was like forgive me for saying it, it was like a prison the way it was set up. I mean, it
Well,
wasn't
it was a
like,
mental institution. So basically, it was worse than a prison.
right.
They
Yeah.
took that hospital and created a polio ward for the quarantine. And they basically just left us there while they were experimenting with Jonas Salk to come up with a vaccine. And we were the ward of the state. So I was a part of that also. But I'm here to talk about it yet, man.
Thank God that you are here talking about it in present tense, so, that you're
Yeah,
actually here to do it. That you're not lucky, you're blessed. And there is a difference, I would
yeah.
think. And I mean, that's I mean, who can you say that you know somebody who has done as well as you had polio? This isn't like some little obscure thing. I mean, that was a major thing. Like you said, people were dying from this.
I
I mean,
watched 2,300 kids die in that hospital alone.
it's
That's why I
incredible.
stopped getting friendly with them. I had a couple of guys I was getting friendly with, and
Yeah.
then, they go for therapy or whatever. They don't come back, and they're scrubbing down their bed. And I said, "What happened to him?" He said, "Oh, he went to heaven." And I'm saying to myself, I'm still a good Catholic, but I wasn't ready to go to heaven at that age. I was already an altar boy praying not to go to heaven yet. And
Yeah. It's got
it
to be
was a
traumatic.
devastating time.
I mean, that's traumatic when you're that age, any age really, but you're
Yeah,
a young boy now. And I mean, you're scared to death. You're 6 years old. I mean, you're going in there and watching people that you were just talking to yesterday are not there anymore. And it
right.
doesn't take, I mean, that's rough. But the fact that you overcame that and got through it just, it
Well,
speaks
that gave me
volumes.
my backbone and my ego to live and my drive to live. But it's I don't know if I didn't go through that if I would have accomplished everything I have today. To be honest with you, so that 5 years I wouldn't change an hour of anything in my life because where I'm at now, it's ridiculous. I mean, there's people. Most people don't even know what I've achieved business wise. And most people think I made The Godfather, whatever. I made 46 motion pictures, and nine of those won Oscars beyond The Godfather. And
Hmm.
I produced 16 of them. So I took the business really serious,
Yeah.
and it worked out.
I mean, the fact, I mean, obviously, till our last days, I mean, you're always going to be, to a lot of people, especially in the New York, New Jersey area, or just film fans a lot. I mean, you're always going to be Carlo Rizzi. Not the worst. I mean, that's not too bad. I mean,
No, that's great. I mean, well, that in itself,
yeah,
we didn't even know the movie was going to come out. I'm asked that question all the time.
yeah,
Did you know it was going to be a big film? Paramount kept threatening us to close the production down
all right,
because they hated Michael. They hated Al Pacino playing Michael. They wanted Robert Redford. The studios were doing all their creative stuff that would have destroyed the film, as we all know it today. I mean,
and I was gonna get to that in a minute, but now that you brought it up, so you got ready. So I remember reading about this, and you can say what's BS and what isn't on there, but because you hear convoluted stuff, but the fact that Francis Ford Coppola couldn't, I mean, they pretty much shut down filming there. They didn't want the word mafia in the first one. They brought the script to Joe. From what I heard, like I said, I wouldn't know this, you would, but they completely were going to shut that down. That almost didn't happen. Like you said, what a tragedy to not have that film
well,
make the light
Joe
of day.
Colombo basically, his son was just arrested, and he used the book and he created the Anti Defamation League, Italian
Right.
Anti Defamation League. The thing that basically saved him by doing that, he had a great Jewish lawyer, and his name was Barry Schlotnick. He became my lawyer. He was Joe Colombo's lawyer. In fact, his son Stu Slotnick now is still my attorney. I'm into
Wow.
the second generation of that family. But like you pointed out, they were ready to close the film down. They were picketing everything that could possibly be. And they lost Manhasset already as a location. And they had a big rally to close the film down. I heard about it. I knew Joe when I'm being at his club on 86th Street as a young guy. So
Yeah.
I went to see him. And I know the mentality of most of the mob, or I should say all the mob. It's about making money. They could tell you this grandstand about that. But the bottom line is, how do we make money?
How do you earn? Yeah.
So I went to them and I said, listen, Joe, you're missing a great opportunity here for us to make money. He said, us? I said, well, if I give you the idea, I want to be in on it. So I told him the idea. I said, listen, have Barry read the script, what you don't like in the script. If they agree to change it and give you everything you want, give them the locations they need, give them the cooperation of the union, and let's make the movie. He said, well, you think you could arrange that? I said, give me the permission to go talk for you. And he did. I was on Madison Avenue at the league office. So I just walked up 59th Street and went to, which is now Trump Plaza or whatever it is. And that was the Gulf and Western building up there. And with that said, I was standing in the lobby, and they all knew me because I sent a screen test in, one for Michael, one for Sonny, one for Carlo, and they said they all knew my face. And they said, "What's that kid doing here?" I
Yeah.
was 26 at the time,
Right.
so I went over to them. I said, "Listen, you got a big problem here." We don't have no problem. I said, "Listen, I just left Joe Colombo, and you got a problem." He's you just left Joe Colombo. I said, "Yeah." He said he wants to meet with you guys. I would meet with him if I were you. And that's how it all came about. The next day, we were in his office, man, and
Wow.
worked it out. And that's who gave me the part. You could hear all kinds of stories and rumors how I got the part. Joe Colombo. I said, if you agree on all of this, first of all, I said I wanted to play Michael. They said, no, no, James Caan is playing Michael. That was before they changed him to Sonny. And I said, well, who's playing Sonny? They said, Carmine Caridi. He was in a big play called The Man from La Mancha. I
Right.
said, well, who's playing Carlo? They said, we didn't get to that part yet. I said, Joe, I want to play Carlo. So he looked at them. He's we make this deal, he's playing Carlo. They all looked at each other saying, wait a minute. He said, you hear me? I'm out of here unless you give the part to Carlo. And that's how I got the part. I don't care what other stories you heard and all that. That's
Mhm.
how I got the part. Joe Colombo.
Wow. And well, actually, they had said that, and somebody else had said, well, many people, oh, no, it was Marlon Brando that did. And I know from what you've said before that you've had one acting coach and one singing coach. And let's see, Marlon Brando was your acting coach, and your singing
Right.
coach was Frank Sinatra.
Yep.
Not a bad duo right there, I would have to say.
Well,
Uh,
you know why? Because when I was, as I said, I was in Bellevue. I got there when I was 6 and a half on August 9th, 1949. And it's not like the hospitals we know now. There was no televisions on the wall. There was nothing. You were looking at the ceiling. And I was getting pretty depressed because my birthday was coming up in December. And Dolores Barone, thank God for her, she was from the neighborhood, Carlo Gambino's niece. And he basically said, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know who the guy was.
yeah.
And I knew he was my uncle, but that was just because out of respect in the neighborhood, anybody over 21, we called him uncle. I thought I had the biggest family in the world because
You
everybody in the neighborhood was my aunt and my uncle.
got a lot of uncles there. Yeah.
And he sent a transistor radio up to me,
Okay.
and I turned it on that morning, and all I heard was Sinatra, the accolades about Frank Sinatra and his humble beginnings in Hoboken. His mother was a barmaid. His father worked at Todd Shipyard.
All right.
And here I was on 31st Street, and Sinatra was doing 5 shows a day to New York Paramount on 42nd Street. And it
Yeah.
was like 4 years later. I couldn't believe it. I'm working for a guy called Frank Costello, who happens to be the apartment I'm in. And I've been here since I'm 13, and I'm still here, obviously.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I
We know
go
who
to
Frank goes.
deliver envelopes to Carmine at the front door at the Copacabana on 60th, which is a block away from here.
Right. The old Copa. Wow.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
yeah. And there was lines outside. So I go
Mhm.
downstairs, and there's Sinatra having a sound check and rehearsing with the band. So he looks at me, and he looks at Julie Bodell, who was the front owner and manager, as if to say, who's this kid? And Julie Bodell said, that's Costello's boy. Well, I felt 10 foot tall. And he kept on singing. I sat down. I listened to some songs. And as soon as there was a break, he put a cigarette in his mouth. And I walked over and I said, Mr. Sinatra, you saved my life. He said, how'd I do that? I said, well, December 12th is your birthday and my birthday. And Mr. Gambino sent me a transistor radio. He said, excuse me, Mr. Gambino like Carlo Gambino? I said, yeah. He's okay. I said, when I had, I found out we shared the birthday, and now here I am now. He said, what's your name, kid? I said, no. He said, what's your name? I said, the kid. He said, the kid? No, what's your real name? I said, I can't tell you that. He said, why? I said, well, Mr. Costello told me never to tell anybody my real name. He said, now we're talking about Frank Costello? I said, yeah. He said, maybe I should get to know you. Carlo Gambino sent you a radio. Frank Costello names you the kid. And from that day on, we were friends. He baptized my son Luciano, who's now 53. No,
Okay.
but I stayed friends with him forever. And what a great mentor, as far as I've had the best.
Yeah, it sounds like. I mean, you're dropping all sorts of heavy duty names on Frank Sinatra. I mean, just that exchange. I wish I was a fly on the wall for that one. That
Hello.
must have been something else. And they took you seriously. Who is this kid with all these uncles on top of that? But I
Yeah.
um I know that you've done. I mean, you've been in so many things, and we'll show some clips in a little bit. I mean, do you ever watch these things? I mean, do you ever sit down and actually watch The Godfather, or has it been a long time, or now you don't watch?
The reason the Godfather more so than anything, because me being a businessman more than anything else, years ago I got involved with a company called MJ Licensing Company, and that company owns all the IP on the Godfather, including the deal with the Brando estate. So we have his image and his voice. We made a deal with a kid that had the rights to Genco olive oil. We bought that from him.
Oh, that
And
was
if
a
you
real
look,
thing. Genko was real. I thought that was just for the
now it
movie.
is. It wasn't. It was
It wasn't then. All right.
fictitious. It was fictitious in the film, but everybody knew Genco olive oil.
Yeah.
So I wanted it, and I have it. And if your audience goes to Corleone Fine Italian Foods on their website, you'll see everything. I got Clemenza's meat sauce in the jar.
Of all the people, the guy that whacked you, you got his meat sauce in the jar. By the way,
It's
I'm
one of the
glad that
best sellers, I'll tell you right now.
I yeah, I mean, come on, you're the man with that. And I must say, when I speak for everybody, especially for all Italian Americans, we're glad that you didn't get whacked by Clemenza. That would have sucked, you know. But I mean, you did, but you didn't. So we're kind of happy
No,
about
it's
that.
crazy.
It's, I've seen that scene so many times, and whenever I get into a car and there's people sitting in the back seat, I'm like, man, this is must be how Gianni felt in the movie because
Oh,
it
yeah.
I don't like having my back to the door. I don't like people sitting behind me, especially someone that looks like Clemenza. Forget about it. But
Hello.
that must have been.
I
I,
got truck drivers in the neighborhood up here. And I'm walking home at night or whatever. They go, "Hey, Carlo."
yeah, that's how they know you.
Yeah, it's funny. Which
Not
what a great compliment, though. Here we are, 52 years later, talking about the same movie.
It has aged well, in my opinion. I mean, just
Yeah.
the fantastic way the older car. I mean, just to forget about the all star cast for a second. You set that aside for a moment between you and Marlon Brando and Al Pacino and James Caan and Robert Duvall I mean, even Talia Shire's in that. I mean, and I that leads me to a question I have, and I don't think, or I don't know if anyone's ever asked you this before. Growing up, I would hear, there were certain earmarks for this and that. The fact that it's actually a movie, it's not real, it's a motion picture, but a lot of people couldn't discern between the two and actually hated you because of the scene with you and Connie, you know, like when she's pregnant and you're going out, exactly what I'm talking about. And
Oh,
everyone
yeah.
that I mean, they're like, "Oh, that's terrible, and how can he do that? And she's pregnant." But it's a movie. But these people genuinely had like hatred in their hearts. How do you deal with that?
Oh, you won't believe what happened to me one day in Chicago, about 3 months after the movie's out. A lady comes running across the street towards me, and I thought she was a fan. We got, that's the only motion picture up to today that was in the theaters 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for months.
I was running 24. Oh, no kidding. Okay.
Yeah, no, nobody. There's never been a film yet that has done that. And they had
Okay.
lines at 7 in the morning, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. This lady come up to me, and as soon as she got up, I thought she was going to, say, "Oh, what a great role!" And that. She started beating me up with her purse, only to find out when the cops grabbed her and said, "What are you doing?" She said she was beat up by her husband and had a miscarriage.
Oh my god.
And that movie just relived it all for her. And she took it out on me in a city street in Chicago.
Hidden with her purse. Yeah, yeah. It must have
Talking
been. Yeah,
about,
she saw red with you.
yeah, art imitating life. Forget about it.
Because I know because that's what people say. I'm like, oh my god, he beat up Adrian, because they associate her with Adrian from Rocky and you
Right,
with
right, right.
Carlo, and then they kind of put it two together. Oh my god, Carlo Rizzi beat up his wife and then went out and did this and then got Sonny killed and I mean it was just like they set you up to be like they villainized you from day one. I mean from
It's
you
so
know
funny you should say Adrian, because
yeah.
years after Rocky came out, I saw Sly in Beverly Hills. So I said, "Why'd you marry my ex-wife?" "What do you mean?" I said, "You married Adrian, the Godfather. I mean, in Rocky." "So?" I said, "She was my wife first." "What are you crazy? She wasn't your wife first." I mean, I mean,
That sounds like Stallone too.
I mean,
Yeah,
God
okay.
bless him. He made a lot of money, but he is dumb.
And there you have it, folks. Behind me, you can see the one Rocky picture from Rocky 3. Above that, it's kind of cut off with the camera angle, but that's an original. That's from the first Rocky from '76. That was the first one in the
And
Martini.
God bless him. I mean,
Yeah,
he stood his guns because I remember
yeah.
when he presented the script to Paramount, they wanted it for James Caan, and he said,
Anyone
"No,
but him. Yeah,
I'm
anyone.
starring in it."
Yep.
And he held out and he did it. Now we got like a Rocky Squadando and whatever. There's so many 9,000 Rockies. Forget about it. No, but I
Yeah.
mean, my hat's off to him because of that alone. I mean, he was broke too because I didn't even knew his mother. And no, he did it, and God bless him.
And he was offered, from what I heard, it went up to almost what was it, over 300 grand. Now he's got a pregnant wife at the time. She's expecting. He's like I mean, barely he had to sell his dog. I remember everybody felt bad about that. He had to buy the dog back later on. That was Buckus. That was his dog. And he knew. He just knew. I never asked him, but he knew that this was his one
That was a
shot.
great
And no
vehicle.
matter what, that takes a lot of cojones there to when you have nothing and to
I
turn
know.
down 300 grand. I mean, we might not sit here and not even be talking about him had he done that. So
No, I mean, no, the guy. I mean, as I say, I respect him for that.
yeah.
It's
Yeah, and I'm definitely, I've always been, in high regard to myself as well. He just, I mean, I'm a huge Rocky fan. I mean, that was just something we all thought that we were Rocky. If you're Italian and you're from Jersey or New York, yeah, I'm Rocky. I was Rocky in 1979, and I won
yeah.
a costume contest for Halloween, and I haven't won since. But that one, my mom made me the robe, an Italian stallion, and all, and I had the cheesecloth on my hands, and I had the black eye from the burnt cork and everything. I mean, she really went
That's
all out.
funny because if you came to PaisanCon this weekend,
Yeah.
there was a guy just dressed like that too,
Oh, really? Oh,
and he's walking around with a handheld speaker, with all the music playing. I mean, it
Oh,
was
with the Rocky yeah.
it was
Oh,
crazy.
man, now I really wanted to be there. I mean, that's well, next time I will. You're gonna be doing a bunch of 'em. I don't know when it'll be back in Jersey, but,
Well, I
hopefully
don't. I'd probably do it annually there again. But
I'll be
I've
over.
gotten they got me. I mean, Johnny and Matt got me involved early on, and
Yeah.
I'm so proud to be an Italian. So I said, this is great because there's so many. Like next week in New Jersey is Thriller. I've gone to so many of these shows, I don't go anymore. And
No.
when he called me, I said, I'm in. He said, yeah, it's the first. I said, I know it's the first. I'm in.
Yeah,
And
when the first it was the maiden voyage, so to speak. I heard
yep,
about that. Yeah.
yep.
That's awesome. I'm proud to be Italian too. I don't had I been any other way, I'd be proud of that. But the fact that I was born in Montclair, New Jersey. I was born just like and
That's a nice neighborhood.
yeah, that's where that's where Yogi Bear is from. I met him a long time ago, late '80s. But yeah, I mean, they were just regular people. I've told you the stories, that Joe Pesci used to cut my aunt's hair, and that Frankie Valli's parents used to babysit me. But to us, they were just regular people. They were just nice people. And there I am eating spaghetti on a Saturday, watching Super Friends when cartoons were only on Saturdays. I'm sitting there, and there's Frankie. There's his dad, his mom. Her name was Mary. Right in Stephen Crane Village, right over there in Newark. And they were to me. they were just regular people, that just I didn't think anything
Yeah.
of it. They were just kind. They were kind people. And
He's been on podcast twice already, Frankie.
yeah, he's down. He's out in California now. I will
Yeah,
try.
I mean, he comes out for big dollars for his concerts, but basically he's staying out there.
Well, he's up there too. What is he, about 70?
No, I think he's older than me.
Is he really?
I think he's like 80 something, 83 or 4 or 5. I'm 81, so
Well, I remember his dad, Louis, told me a long time ago. I remembered. He's like, you know what? I don't know if it was in Jersey Boys or whatever in the movie or the play, but before they were the Four Seasons, they were the Four Apples. But prior to that was the Four Lovers, and this came right directly from his dad's mouth. He told me this, so I knew that, like others in that neighborhood, before anyone else did. I
yeah.
don't know if it ever made it into the movie, but that's a true story. I have pictures of me with Frankie Valley's dad and stuff. But in any event, well, you know who he is. He hopefully he can come down. We'll see. Maybe he can make Paisan Con. That would give a lot of people a thrill, I would think.
Oh, but
He's
that's
great.
what I know he's not doing. He gets such big money now. Forget it.
Yeah, I guess. Well, he deserves it. I mean, they.
Oh yeah, no, I mean he is who he is.
All right, so I know the different stories, and I don't want to, mention all those other things. There's certain things that I did want to mention for our audience that are listening and that will be watching later on. But the fact that, I mean, you worked with Marlon Brando, you worked with Al Pacino, you have been around Frank Sinatra, you were with for a while, from what I was told, with Dionne Warwick.
No, I
You
was a
were a night.
manager. That's misleading.
Ah,
I was her manager for 15 years. We met on a game show, and she was sitting between George Hamilton and me. The show was called Celebrity Sweepstakes. And on the break, because most people don't know, when you go there, you bring five change of clothes. You shoot all the shows in one day, and it was lucrative that way to do it. On a Sunday, you go there and do it. So the first show we were on a break, I said, Dion, I got to tell you one thing. Between you and Johnny Mathis, I made love to more girls in the backseat of my car. She smacked me.
Dionne Warwick smacked you, and but she's still around, right? Dionne Warwick.
Oh yeah, she's still around. She's still working and doing things.
Yeah, I got to ask her for the lotto numbers. Can you make a call for me, Gianni? I mean, she's still doing that stuff where she can speak.
No, she got
I
in big
thought it was.
trouble with that.
She did. No, I didn't even know
Oh
that.
no, I mean, what you're talking about when she was doing that psychic thing?
Yeah, what was that? Late
Well,
'80s,
she
early
she got
'90s.
she got hooked up with that, and as the story went, I know this way only that the people that were in Europe did it all. They made all the money, and she got hit with the taxes here, destroyed her, unfortunately,
Really?
financially. Yep.
No, I didn't. I didn't realize. I mean, I always thought that she was pretty cool and everything. I never really thought much of it, like that it was real or anything like that. But I just kind of thought, I'm like, well, when people say Dionne Warwick, they were like, oh yeah, she's like the soothsayer. She's the
Oh,
fortune
I
teller.
know. I mean, it's so crazy.
Well, you've been hurt. Now you were leading into this, which is a perfect segue. All right, all the stuff that you've done, every show. I mean, you were on Kojak and you were in the Rockford Files, and I think you're on an episode of Hunter and a bunch of other like smaller stuff, and then the bigger stuff. I mean, you did Paramount things, but I got to tell you, you were just like my absolute hero for this next thing that I'm going to mention, and you're going to laugh probably, but when I found out. Now, whether it was true or not, I believe you because you've said this several times. The fact that you spent, I guess, a weekend or you were with Marilyn Monroe. I got to tell you, Gianni, out of all the things you've done, that is the most impressive thing. If I spent a weekend with Marilyn Monroe, I wouldn't take a shower for like a month. I don't care what I smelled like. I wouldn't give a crap.
Well, let
I
me explain to you and the audience how that happened.
Please, because I'm dying here. Please tell me.
I was a messenger for Frank Costello. In fact, this is his apartment I'm sitting in yet. And I was 15 and I was taking envelopes everywhere. I was his personal messenger for a lot of things. And I was taking envelopes to everybody and doing whatever. And I knew what was going on. It was old numbers and receipts for horses and that. And I was still a gimp from polio, my whole left side. So I still had a limp and my left arm was still thin.
Oh my gosh.
So I get caught outside of Dempsey's, no Lindy's restaurant. I got caught outside of Lindy's, which was my daily stop, and this Guy came up to me in a uniform. It was a brown uniform, like a dog catcher. And he said, "How come you're not in school?" I laughed at him. I said, "School?" I had like 5,000 in my pocket. He said, "How old are you?" I said, "I'm 15 and a half." He said, "Well, you got to be in school." And he writes me a ticket. So I give my grandmother's address down on Mulberry Street.
Let
And
alone
I'm heading to Toots Shore to bring this money to Costello. He's waiting for it. And Toots Shore, for your audience don't know, was a great watering hole during those days. I mean, everybody was in there.
what year are we
That's
talking about? This is the
this
1950.
is in the 50s and 60s.
Okay.
And during that time, Jackie Gleason was at
Ah,
the CBS studio, which was Letterman, and now it's Colbert. That's
okay.
always been CBS. And that's where he was doing the honeymooners and all that.
Loved
But
him.
I'm only setting the scene to know Toots Shores in the afternoon. I don't care what day you go. It was like watching the Ed Sullivan show. There was more stars in there. So I was on my way there and I had the ticket in my hand. And Costello says, "You got a ticket? Give me that. Let me see that." And I didn't get the joke at first. And he says to me, "How'd you get a ticket? Walking too fast?" I said, "No, I don't know what it is." And it was a truant officer's ticket. He's, "I'll straighten it out for you." So I said, "Great. I didn't care about the ticket." So the next day, which I met him every day at 11 o'clock at the Waldorf Astoria, he'd give me what he wanted me to do and whatever. And then I'd meet him again at the Copa. So he said, I got you into the Wilford Academy on top of Lindy's. So when you do your morning route, just stop in, sign in, and leave. So the first day I go, Gregory, there's all these beautiful young girls. And I say, "Wait a minute, I don't have to meet him till 11 o'clock." So I'd get there at 9. I spend 2 hours there with all these girls.
Nice. And this was
So,
a truant officer. He's like writing you and you're like, "Excuse me, I work for Frank Costello. Like, you can let me in now. I already been to school called Hard
yeah,
Knocks,
well,
that kind of thing."
so whatever happened, again, I'm there every day. One day, this guy comes, Mark Sinclair and Kenneth, who were top hairdressers in New York. They were working for Lily Daché, the haberdasher on 56th Street. And they were looking for shampoo boys. And I think they were looking for a couple of other things with these boys. So they saw me. I was a good looking kid when I was young. And they hired me. And the teacher let me know if you went there, it acts like credit. But the good news, you could keep the tips. Now I used to walk past there. Every limousine, every high society girl was going in and out of there.
Hmm.
So I got the job. So now I'm standing there, and it's not like salons because these were very highfalutin ladies. Their clothes, so when they went in, they went to a dressing room, they put a robe on, they took their expensive clothes and hung them up. And then they would call you to a shampoo room, not where all the sinks were lined up to give them privacy. And I walk in there and I'm looking at it and I'm saying, this can't be. It was Marilyn Monroe. Her head was already in the basin looking at the ceiling. I don't even know how long I looked at her. But what you and your audience don't know, prior to that, every night when Costello would go home, I'd go to St. Patrick's Cathedral because I made a novena. If I was well, got out of the hospital, I'll never miss doing my novena and go to church. And then I'd leave there and go to Paramount. It was open 24 hours a day. Well, I saw Some Like It Hot 10 times already.
Great movie, yeah.
And this is her. She's facing the ceiling. I couldn't believe it. So I don't know how long I was looking at her. And then she finally said, "Is there somebody in the room?" I said, "Yeah, it's me. I'm sorry." And they, with her card, she liked the strong shampoo. And they taught you how to get the water from the sink, put it on the inside of her wrist to approve it. So I did the whole thing. So now I'm shampooing her hair because she likes a hard shampoo. She's starting to moan. Now
This
I'm
is Marilyn
15 and a half
Monroe
years.
moaning. You're putting the shampoo. You're massaging Marilyn Monroe's hair.
Right. Now
Wow.
she's moaning. Now, your audience, I hope they don't think it's too crude to me, but my three-piece set is on her shoulders. And as she's moaning, I'm getting an erection.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about my audience. They're cruder than we are, but that's
So, with this said, now she starts requesting me. Now, I
oh
don't know if it
boy.
was the erection or the great shampoo, but
I'm
I
jealous.
didn't care.
I'm jealous.
No, it
Oh
gets
my god.
crazier. Now months go by, and I don't tell anybody. Nobody believe me anyway. So now Costello tells me we have company staying upstairs, which we always did.
Yeah.
He's I'm going to be gone. I'm going to go see Ricardo in Chicago because they used to go deep sea fishing. So he says, go up there after 12 o'clock. Don't go up before. So that Saturday, I go up. I knock on the door. It's Marilyn Monroe. She opens the door. She says, Johnny, what are you doing here? I said, well, Mr. C told me to come up that you were here and to check on you. So come on in. I just ordered room service. I didn't know what room service was. She had all these carts with food and all that. She comes in. She said, have breakfast. I said, I had breakfast already. I said, before I get in trouble, let me go downstairs and just call the front desk. They all know the kid, and I'll come up and get whatever you need. She said, no, come with me. Sit down, have a glass of champagne. I said, I can't have champagne. I'm 15. She said, you can have anything you want in this room. And she gives me a glass of champagne. And I'm saying to myself, I got to get killed over this. I know it. So I had
Yeah.
one glass, two glasses. I'm getting umbrial over here. And she said, I'm going to go take a bath. I said, okay, I'm going to go downstairs. No, no, come with me. She takes me by the hand to the bathroom. Now, I never saw a bathroom like this, a big tub in the middle of the room and all that. She's running the water. You should comb out my hair like you do, before I shampoo. I'm brushing out the hair. So I'm brushing out hair. She's got a robe on. I'm saying, I'm not, I got to dye it here. So I'm brushing out hair. She goes over, shuts off the water, and she's got nothing on. She drops her robe.
Marilyn Monroe drops her robe.
Marilyn
You're
Monroe drops her
15.
robe. I got pictures of it. It's in my
Wow.
show. The book that I see you keep showing any given Sunday, I turned it into a one man show. Nobody believes I got clips of this.
Oh my god. I'm so 15
So
years
now
15 years old with Marilyn
she
Monroe
gets in the
naked.
tub.
Ugh.
She's getting in the tub. Says, you know what? The hell with it. I took off my clothes and got in the tub. Now I'm a gentleman. This was Saturday afternoon. Monday morning, I leave. I get dressed, I go downstairs, and I got to meet Mr. Costello at 11 o'clock. I walk back there in Peacock Alley. He says, you look so tired. You get any sleep this weekend? I said, no, I had a rough weekend. I would never lie to him. I just had a rough
Not
weekend.
him.
And
No.
I sat down, changed the subject. But that's how it started. And I was with her for the 4.5 years after that until Bobby Kennedy killed her. The last weekend, I was with her at Cal Neva the last weekend in July of 1962. And I have the pictures to prove it. Sinatra was there, Buddy
Really?
Greco was there, and they were trying to set up Bobby Kennedy now was having his way with her because John Kennedy said he had to stay away from her for the next 2 years because he's a Catholic boy. And once, he's there and established as a president, he would leave Jackie and go to her. That's how naive she was, this poor lady.
I
And
and not to
what?
mention, wasn't she married to Joe DiMaggio at the time? I thought she
No,
was.
no, that was over with already.
It was, okay.
Miller was over already. No, she went through a couple of people.
Right. The playwright, right? Arthur Miller.
Yeah,
I remember right. Okay.
yeah. No, and
Wow.
that was the way it was.
Wow.
And that weekend, I was there just as the eyes and ears of Costello. The guy who took the picture, and I saw him at PaisanCon. I had these pictures. The guy who was the photographer that weekend
Mm.
was Sam Giancana, the underboss to the Alpha in
Oh.
Chicago, because they were going to try to blackmail Bobby Kennedy. But
Yeah, I heard all the stories about it. So just so that we understand in my audience, because they're probably their head is spinning right now. I have my fingers crossed and they have their eyes crossed, I think, because all right, so you're with Marilyn Monroe, you're 15 and a half years old.
right,
She's naked in a tub. You're supposed to be at school. Instead, you're hanging out drinking champagne with Marilyn Monroe, and you
for
spend the
two
week there.
days.
And then you go downstairs to meet Frank Costello. For those that don't know who that man was, I assure you, he wasn't one of the Boy Scouts of America. So this is all happening to you. We could end the show right there. Thank you. Good night. I mean, that's just awesome right there. I am so jealous. Is she really? Was she really
That was wild,
all
man.
that Marilyn Monroe? I mean, she's obviously beautiful, gorgeous lady, and I love
Yeah.
her voice. Is she really like that in real life, or is that an
You
act?
know, at that time, she was so innocent. She had such a low esteem that I found out by spending the years with her. And she was staying at the Waldorf for a long time. Costello hit her out there to get it away from the Xanax because she studied with Strasberg, came to New York to become a legitimate actress. She didn't want this sex thing.
Yeah, that's how they kept casting her, right? I mean, that was
Right. And they passed her around, and a lot of people took advantage of her.
that's
I
a
mean, I
shame.
mean, a movie that we talked about earlier with Tony Curtis Lepke, where he played a Lewis book called I Played Albert Anastasia. And there's a secret thing. If you were with Marilyn, if you were truly with her, you would know this certain birthmark she had. It was above her left leg, right in the crevice of her kumazigyan.
Okay.
Tony Curtis told me about it. Marlon Brando told me about it.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Even Sinatra. Everybody took advantage of this poor girl.
I wasn't I born back then.
Hello.
Ugh. Well, you're a lucky man, but the fact that she was a real person underneath all of the glitz and the glam, I mean,
Oh,
she
she
had a
was the
rough
best.
life from what I heard prior to that, leading up
Oh
to
my
that.
God. Well,
But
what hit it off with us? Because when I got out of Bellevue, I was 12 years old.
right,
When she was 12 years old, her mother and father put her in an orphanage. And she was
right,
in Burbank Studios. She would look out the window and see the Warner Brothers water tower and said, "Someday I'll be there." When I was in Bellevue on 34th Street, I used to look out the window and see the Empire State Building. I never saw a tall building like that. Downtown was all, 6 stories.
right,
And I said, "Someday I'll be uptown." And those little gems made us friends. We had these comparables.
right. You had a common, yeah. I mean, something in common is because
Yeah.
you were both coming. You're in one area or one place
Yeah.
where you both came from a similar type of. It
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
like all like it led to that, but that's amazing because I mean, who else would know? I mean, I and she when did she die? That was 60. Oh no, it was 65. When did Marilyn Monroe?
Yeah. She died in 65. Yeah.
65. Yeah, I remember all that. The stuff swirl. I wish we had the time to go into that.
No, no,
Maybe
no.
another
She
time.
died.
But
No, she died a year before Kennedy. She died in 62.
62. Okay,
Yeah.
right. She went first. Right. That's
Yeah,
right.
she
And then
went first
Kennedy. Right.
because
That's
I saw her that Sunday when I came back, and he asked me what went on. I said she went ballistic. I didn't know that Bobby Kennedy just forced her to have an abortion.
uh,
And I'm going to the press. He said she's going to be dead. They'll kill her. And August 4th, Thursday, she was dead.
how
And
come?
in the Netflix thing, which
Yeah.
everybody denied what I was saying in my book, Hollywood Godfather, in the Netflix thing that came out this year, it said that he was in the house for 6 hours before they called the ENT. That's why the ENT on her birth certificate says she died on August 5th. She died on the 4th, but they didn't take her out till after hours in the late in midnight, after
I
midnight.
heard Secret Service. I've heard there was a lot of stuff swirling around that. That it was this and that, and when you're dealing with the government, who knows? There was a lot of
Oh
cloak
yeah,
and
man,
dagger
forget
stuff.
about
I
it.
mean, but the fact that you could talk about it like out in the open like that, which that was a no no, I guess back then. With everything that swirled
Oh
and
yeah, I mean, well, when I wrote the book just because I thought, for my grandchildren and just I wanted to tell my story, and I've been shot at, stabbed, I had all kinds of things going on. But the book is still a bestseller for the audience that hasn't read it. It's called Hollywood Godfather. It's still on Amazon, 3 years, and it's got 3,000 5-star reviews. It's an amazing book.
yeah, I got
Not
to
because
read
of
it.
my book, but it's a fascinating read,
This
as I
one right
was
here,
told.
right? The one that we have in the top right hand corner,
Right,
the Godfather. Yeah.
exactly.
When did that come out? That's a couple years ago, or
3 years ago.
Has it been 3 years? Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
I got to check this out.
and on the cover, Bobby De Niro promoted it. Nick Pileggi promoted. Gay Talese. They read the book and said, "This is an amazing story." Now I got a new book coming out. They just commissioned me called Mafia Secrets. When you read this book, forget about it.
Forget about it. I don't even know
Well, I had to wait for a couple of guys to die. I didn't want to create any problems.
if you just have to. You have to just kind of. Yeah, I mean that's a smart way to do. All right, you know what? I'm going to. That's a. I appreciate you sharing that with us. Like I said, I'm sure you get asked this or that or whatever, but being, hey, this is the meme machine. You say what you have to say, but you know what? It's good to get it right from the horse's mouth, to get it from you rather than, third party. It's like playing telephone. Well, did Gianni say this?
Right.
Did that really happen? I don't have the. Let me just ask you. You're nice enough to be sitting here right here. I want to show a clip, and I always wanted to watch this with you, and I finally here we are. All these years later, I get to watch this clip of The Godfather, of course.
Oh,
I get
wow.
to watch it with the man himself. So I'm going to share my screen, and just it's not long, but I want to. I've always wanted to watch it with you, so here's my opportunity to do so. Here we go. Got to do this. Watching it with Gianni.
You have to answer for Santino, Carlo.
Mike, you got it all wrong.
You fingered Sonny for the Barzini people. Ah, that little farce you played with my sister. You think that could fool a Corleone?
Mike, I'm innocent. I just ran a kid's life. Please, Mike, don't do this
Sit
to
down.
me. Mike, don't do this to me, please.
Classic
Barzini's
scene,
dead.
man.
No doubt.
So is Philip Tattaglia. Mo Green. Stracci. Cuneo. Today I settle all family business, so don't tell me you're innocent, Carlo. Admit what you did. Get him a drink. Come on. Don't be afraid, Carlo. Come on. You think I make my sister a widow? I'm godfather to your son, Carlo. Go ahead, drink. Drink. No, Carlo, you're out of the family business. That's your punishment. You're finished. I'm putting you on a plane to Vegas. Tom? I want you to stay there. You understand? Only don't tell me you're innocent. Because it insults my intelligence. It makes me very angry. Now, who approached you? Tattaglia or Barzini?
It was Barzini.
There's a car waiting for you outside. Take you to the airport. I'll call your wife. Tell her what flight you're on. Come on, get out of my sight.
Yeah, excellent. I mean that's just a that is a classic scene. And the fact that we were able to watch it together was pretty cool because you are Carlo. I mean, that's you.
You know, it's so wild that most people don't know. On that day, that was a tough scene. That's the only scene we shot that day at
Yeah.
the studio. My interior of my house was at the studio, and Marlon Brando showed up, and most cast members had a number. So when the ads are talking in their sleep, number one's here. Who called in number one? Because he wasn't working that day, and he knew his number. He said, "Nobody called me in. I'm here to help this kid." That's how he became my acting coach. I used to be, most people don't know that. Dick Smith, his wake up can in every film is a guy called Richard Smith, and he does all his makeup. It used to take him 2 to 3 hours to turn him into Don Corleone in the morning. Now, all these other thespians, Pacino, everybody, were always wanted to go in his dressing room, but you had to be invited.
Yeah.
I used to go in every day. He hated me. Jimmy Caan. That's how Jimmy Caan and I mean, there's a lot of reasons Jimmy hated me, but I mean, they just couldn't believe that this guy, but you know what he was doing? And I said, "Why are you doing this for me?" He said, "Your role is one of the most important roles in this movie. If you're not believable, the whole movie falls apart. And I want this movie to be a great hit." That's the only reason he coached me. And then we became friends, and the rest was history.
Marlon Brando came to you to help the kid. I mean, that reminds me of what you were saying a little while ago about the kid thing. Again, when you were talking to Sinatra, I just made
Right.
the connection there. So you were always the kid that had friends in high places, I should say. That's awesome, man.
But
I mean,
I don't tell too many people this. There's a movie that I produced with Andrew Bell and Michael Bergman, and we did three. We did Striptease, Chances Are, and The Freshman.
oh
Now,
yeah,
anybody saw The Freshman? It was a spoof on The Godfather,
right, yeah,
and they wanted Warner Brothers wanted Brando. I said, "I'll get him for you." They said, "Really?" I said, "We were neighbors. I have a house in Mulholland, and we were neighbors, him and I." And I was so appreciative to him. I said, "I'm going to get you the most money you ever made." He said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "I want you to do this. You're going to love it," because he hated The Godfather. Because, they topped him out of $1 million. They wouldn't
uh,
give him any more money. That's why when they did Godfather 2, he wouldn't come and do it. He wanted $1 million for the day. They wouldn't do it. So what happened is I go to Warner Brothers. I said, "He'll do the movie." He wants 15 million. I got it for him. He got $15 million. He
for the
said,
freshman, 15
"Yeah."
million,
I said, "Well,
15
I have to
million.
repay you for my acting lessons." He started laughing.
And the fact that Warner, you said Warner Brothers, this is
Yeah.
Warner Brothers we're talking about, went to you
Hello.
to get Marlon Brando, not using their all their
Well, we
staff
were
to promote it.
producing it. See, Michael Abella and Andrew Bergman, we did three major movies for them.
Yeah,
See, when a lot of people, I mean, I have people with money, so I'm able to raise money for films, discretionary money. Let's put it that way.
yeah, discretionary. Yeah, something that, well, that's, I get it, man. it's, I understand discretion. I do. I mean, the fact that you got a 50, and that came out what, like 1990? It wasn't bad. It was actually better than I thought it was going to be. The freshman, it was
Well, The
funny.
Freshman I thought it was a great movie.
Yeah.
Matthew Broderick, Bruno Kirby. It's a
Yeah.
great spoof,
That's right, Bruno Kirby, because he was in Godfather 2 as well. Well,
right?
he was, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, Godfather 2 is a classic as well.
Oh my
Um,
God, I like Godfather 2 better than 1.
and you're not even in. Well, you actually are. That's
At the
incorrect.
end,
You
yeah,
are in it as a flashback. Go show Carlo the tree.
right.
He's-
I got I got more money for that one day than I did for all of the other 3
Come
months I was
on.
on it.
How is well, you were already a star at that point, but you do that one, which is a great flashback scene, and you actually don't see. Now this makes sense because you don't see Marlon Brando.
Right.
It was the birthday thing, and he's supposed to be outside, and they're gonna surprise birthday party thing, and now that makes sense. Yeah, I get it right from the man himself, Mister
Oh,
Russo,
yeah,
right
no,
here.
he wouldn't come.
No, wow. So he got more than he got from The Godfather.
See, and I
Well,
was hoping he'd come because then it would have been the biggest scene, so they had to cut the scene. Yeah,
right, and they couldn't even show me. You have Abe Vigoda there, you have Robert
yeah,
Duvall, and all
yeah,
but the only person that you don't see, if you think back to that, is Marlon Brando because he
right,
is there. They're
right.
getting surprised. Now, I remember I had to watch that. I mean, it's great the way they bring you from the 40s to the 50s, and
Oh yeah.
how many times has somebody walked over to you and say, "Oh, Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes." I mean, does that ever get old? Just everything in general.
Well,
You ever
how
get
can
tired of talking about it or no?
well, the thing is this, like, again, I mentioned earlier that I'm so involved in the brand itself.
Yeah,
And, I'm with Paramount Viacom as we speak because they own the IP, all the international properties of it.
right.
So we just renewed for another 10 years, and which is
Really?
what was brilliant for us that we did it because most of your audience may not know this, but Campbell Soup last year bought Rayo's and two other sauces for 2,700,000,000.
I'm sorry,
Now,
did you say B? Billion with a B?
B, 2,700,000,000
Okay.
Campbell Soup. We're all over the news, all over Wall Street. What
Mhm.
that did for my company, we went up 35 million that day.
Yeah, I wish I would have known. I've actually been to Campbell Soup. It's in what was that, in Camden? It's in Jersey. I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I was there a long, long
No,
time
but
ago.
I
But
think now
um,
I'm having people come to me for this brand. I'm about to go on QVC this year, and I'm introducing more products. I just bought a pasta company in Corleone. It's a 400-year artesian wheat farm. And
really,
we're making Corleone pasta now with the Godfather logo on the box.
I can't. I got to come with you. Where are you at? Six. I gotta come by, man. Just
You won't
I could be
believe
the
it.
kid. I could be like you. I could be like, you want to help the kid? Yeah, I'm here to see Mr. Russo. Yeah, let the kid come in because my family's from Raccamuto, which is not far from Corleone,
Oh,
Sicily, like
yeah.
a real place. Oh, yes, yes,
Yep.
it is true. It's I think a little north of Corleone, but
I go
I'm
there
here.
every 90 days.
Yeah, see, I want to go to Sardinia too. Maybe take a nice
This is
cruise
the
down there.
only pasta when you boil the water in the pasta, when you strain it, the water is still clear.
You're
It's
making me
amazing.
hungry. You're making me hungry too. Yeah, can't you just we could kill this now. Just can you come and pick me up real quick? Let's just I can't take it anymore. This sounds great. We'll do. We'll hang out one of these days, non-publicized. Just I want to say that sounds great. A pasta company from Cork because I'm Sicilian, so that means a lot to me,
Yeah.
and it's
Well,
authentic.
if you go on the website now, it's already up on the website.
What
Pasta.
is the website? I asked you earlier, and I was going to run it, but you didn't.
Corleone Fine Italian Foods.
Well, that's easy to remember. Corleone Fine Italian Foods.
Yep.
You know what? It's so funny because we have that, and a lot of people don't know unless they're from this area. But did you ever drink? I know this has nothing to do with anything, but did you ever drink Manhattan Specials? You like those?
No, no.
The espresso coffee soda. It's made in Brooklyn, and it's still made with plastic. I'm sorry, with glass, which I think everything tastes better. Yeah, it was one of those things. So when I think of like I would go to Umberto's, when we would go there, you think of two things. One was Joey Gallo, but the
Yeah.
other thing
Well,
you thought of, yeah, because it was his birthday, and the other thing was Manhattan Special. It was just something that I thought about because I always said, I wonder what he. I mean, everybody always had these questions that weren't lucky enough, like
that's
to
funny you bring up
get.
Joey Gallo,
Yeah.
because Joey Gallo was at the Copacabana the night before they killed him. The night that they killed him, he was there with his wife, Jerry Orbach, and his wife.
Jerry Orbach, right, from Law& and Order, and he was a Broadway guy, right? Jerry
Right,
Orbach.
and they
Yeah.
were good friends. And
Mhm.
they saw the second show, and I was hanging around, and they said, "We're going to go down to Chinatown, 19 Mott. Why don't you come down with us?"
Yeah.
I said, "No, no, I got to stay here for a while." So when they get to 19 Mott, it was closed, and Jerry Orbach said, "Let's go to Umberto's." They didn't realize Joey Gallo wasn't supposed to be on Mulberry Street.
And it was his birthday, right? He was out for
It
his
was his
birthday,
birthday.
right?
It was for his
Yeah.
birthday, his
Yeah.
40th birthday. They go 42nd birthday.
He's not supposed to be downtown. I was told
Right.
before
And
I heard
somebody walked by and the club, the Ravenite, right down the street.
that.
They
Mhm.
walk by, they run down to Ravenite, and O'Neill was still there. The old man went back to Brooklyn already. And then she won't believe who was in the neighborhood. Joey Gallo. He said, "I want to whack him. Can I whack him?" They should do whatever you want. And
Can I?
that's when they went in and whacked him.
And when you say Neil, I think yeah, is it all right
O'Neill
to say
Della
his last?
Coco.
Yeah, I didn't
My
know if it was.
man. He was my guy, man.
Yeah, he was as old school tough as I heard, and he, of course, was the mentor to the one and only.
John Gotti, man.
Yeah, that's it. You finished that sentence right there. Whether people knew that or not, but you actually knew Neil, and I've heard that before. We had a mutual friend that had spoke to you, and yeah, that's he
Well,
was the
that's
best
how John
coach.
Gotti and I. John Gotti hated me early on. I was in my teens. When most people don't know, it's in the book. But when I was in Belleview in '49, Dolores Barone. Now I'm recuperating. I'm dragging myself around. I'm taking the Jonas Salt's vaccine, but my left side of my body is still you know paralyzed.
You had to take that real quick. You had to take that for quite some time, right? That wasn't just ended when you got out after the 5 years. That was ongoing, right? I mean,
No, no. When I got out, which year I got out, you won't believe this story.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I wanted to make sure I'm in correct here.
No, what happened was Dolores told me about this guy, one of the hotel therapists. She's watched this guy, Johnny, because I'm now 12 years old.
Yeah,
And I was a good looking kid at the time. He said, don't ever be alone with him. And I'm saying, I don't know what she's talking about. We didn't know about pedophiles like kids do today and all that.
yeah.
So I don't know why I took a little porter's broom, because I used to drag myself. They would not give me the bedpan anymore. Once you had strength, they wanted you out of bed and exercising and going. So I'd crawl along the floor, get to a side rail, and drag myself to the bathroom. And I was in no hurry to go back to bed. I'd just sit on the john because I couldn't go to a urinal and stand up. So I got this porter's broom and I broke the bristles off and I threw them away. And I used to sit on the toilet and file the broken end in the grout of the tile of the floor. So I'd like a 3 foot pencil just for everybody to get a visual. And every time I left, I'd put it behind the radiator, hanging horizontally, so you couldn't find it. And I always went to stall 4 because it had the best lighting. And I didn't want to be there, but in the middle of the night, I have to go to bed. I have to go to the bathroom. Well, sure enough, this guy shows up one night, and I see him. The only privacy we had was a canvas drape. So I see the white shoes, and he's trying to pull the curtain. Well, fortunately, I'm sitting on the toilet. My right side, I had no deformity, so I was very strong by dragging myself around.
The right side built up to
The right
compensate for
side
the
was
left.
built up for the 2 or 3 years of dragging myself around.
Okay.
So I said, I'm okay. He said, you need any help? I said, no, I'm okay. I'll be right out. With that, he pulls the curtain and he steps in. Now he's standing right in front of me. I'm sitting down the toilet. And he starts unbuttoning his pants. And he didn't realize I had my weapon on the floor, the broom handle, on next to my right side. And I was starting to get some mobility in my left side. I just used it to guide it. So sitting down, I picked up my left arm as much as I could, and I put the broom on it. And on the angle, I hit him under his rib cage with the strength of my right side, and it went right through his heart.
Oh,
He's running around the bathroom screaming, spraying blood all over the place. Dolores comes, throws a blanket over me. They take me to my bed. The next thing you know, a gurney comes, they strap me in it, they take me up to the psych ward. I'm saying to myself,
you're
what
nuts.
the hell is going on here? I didn't know the guy died. They didn't tell me that. So now I spend 72 hours in the psych ward. Just to give you a visual, the floor of the psych ward is like a funnel.
Yeah.
And every hour, 2 hours, they come with warm water and wash it down. Everybody's nude. I don't care if you're old, young, female, male. And whatever you had to do, you just did it. And I'm saying to myself, what's next?
Yeah, no
They
shit.
come and they put me back in the bed after 72 hours. And Dolores came with clothes because I was there for 5 years already. She said, they're releasing you tomorrow morning. I said, what? Because I found out later the state didn't want anybody to know what went on, that they had a pedophile working on these kids.
Yeah, no shit. So it's okay that you whacked them because they wanted to keep it hush hush. So you're good.
Right.
Don't worry about it. Wow, you are.
No, wait till I'll tell you this tidbit now. So now Dolores goes home and she tells her uncle, shit, you won't believe what happened last night. That kid killed a pedophile. He's what kid? The Russo kid.
Again with the kid.
Right. So now
Yeah.
she takes me in a wheelchair after the 72 hours. I go down and she hails a cab and she let them believe my parents were picking me up. I never saw my parents. They never came to see me or nothing. The cab pulls up. She said, drop him at 247 Mulberry Street. I knew I was going home. Unbeknownst to me, you're not going to believe this next part of this.
Okay.
The cab pulls up. On the sidewalk was O'Neill, Joe LaForte, Joe the Cat, and Gambino, waiting for me to get out of the cab
Gambino, you said.
on the curb. It's like one
Wow.
o'clock in the afternoon. He gives me a kiss and whispers in my ear, I'm proud of what you did. And then O'Neill does the same thing.
This is
Joe the
Delacroix we're
Cat does
talking
the
about.
same thing.
Wow.
But what most lay people don't know, if I wanted to make my bones, I just did because they accepted me for killing this guy. I was 12.
So you're 12 years old. You got Delacroix waiting for you, and we're talking when we say Gambino, we're talking about Carlo,
Carlo Gambino,
like
nobody else. The
the
old man.
wow.
And Joe LaForte, another underboss.
Yeah, no, I know who. Well, I didn't know that, but I'm just saying I know who you mean. But this is not just like some kind of it's not even a capo regime or anything. We're talking about Carlo Gambino here. He's
The head of
waiting
the
for you.
five families. Forget about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Wow.
it's crazy,
You're
man.
12. You're 12 years old at
I'm
the time.
12
I mean,
years
I
old.
played baseball. I played like little league at 12. You're hanging out with
I wasn't hanging out with him. I knew nothing was going on.
yeah.
And
Still,
then I
yeah.
started working for Costello. I was working at McNally's Bakery making bread, mixing 50-pound bags of flour, building my body up. The dry heat from the ovens was great for my body.
Right.
And then I went uptown selling ballpoint pens during the day. That's how I met Costello.
Naturally. I mean, wow. I mean, that's just we're only talking about so up to the age of 12. Not even well, we didn't even wait until like when you turned 15 and you're with Marilyn Monroe. So
Right.
you've done more things between the age of between birth and let's say 16 that anybody could even dream about. And you're not making this up. This is really
Oh, this is all. No, you can't even make this stuff up. Forget about it.
I mean,
And it's all documented. I mean, everything about me now is everywhere. I mean, I had 23 federal indictments. I had 2 other murders since then. You can't make this stuff up.
that leads me to the net. No, I mean, this is coming right from the horse's mouth. This has got to be one of the greatest interviews ever. I feel like we're just kind of hanging out and talking about it. It doesn't even feel that way, which is great. I need to know. Well, I don't need to know. I think when people see, because there's so much stuff that's out there, like I said, it's just floating around with all the social media and YouTube and this and that. The face to face, well, you had a lot more than that. The face to face with Pablo Escobar. That is a true story. He actually threw you in that prison that he had made for himself. He
Yeah.
actually threw you in there. And this was leading, I don't know if you want to go into it or not, but I remember hearing about that. You've said in
No, I'll
another
go into
interview
it.
about, yeah, I mean, this was something where there was like a Santeria, that kind of thing. And you went
Well, yeah, no, the
to
problem,
kids.
just so people know, I'm not going around killing people. This is when I had State Street in
Wow.
the 80s. It was a big restaurant, gambling hall, everything else. Sinatra, D. Martin, and Sammy Davis opened it up. They
In
were there
Vegas.
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for no money.
That was in Vegas, right?
That's in Vegas.
Right.
The
Okay.
place was an immediate hit. And soon after that, and another guy who could attest to it, and he's well known now also, he was going to UNLV uh, hotel management with Steve Sharippa from The Sopranos, now
Oh,
the
yeah,
Blue Bloods.
Steven. Right. Yeah, of
Well,
course.
Steve was my doorman because he was a
Okay.
big guy, and he used to work there at night while he was going to school. He was there that night
No shit.
So I see this guy come in. He's giving everybody $100 bills, which we see a lot. They make a big score. They take care of everybody. So he brings him right to table 7. So I call him on the house phone. I said, Steve, who's that guy? He's, I don't know. He sees his guest. But I said, who's picking up his check? He said, Caesar's. I said, load him up. So we sent a bottle of Cristal, Louis XIII, Beluga Caviar.
Louis
The
the
guy had a
Third.
bill $1,800 in about 10 minutes. The guy's there maybe another 10 minutes. He breaks the Cristal bottle and sticks it in his date's face.
What?
Thank God he missed her eye. Her name is, I got a memory nobody can believe. Her name was Lois Manis. She was a cocktail waitress at the Stardust Hotel.
This is going back a ways, and it rolls right
Hello.
off your lips like it was yesterday, huh? That's a good memory.
I could see her bleeding. I called Stevie back. I said, Steve, get to that table. We got to get her to the hospital. He says, I ain't going over there, boss. I said, you crazy? That's what I hired you for. So now I got to go over there. And I had a thing, a lot of wise guys would come there. I want no problems. So I went over to the guy. So listen, you hear those sirens? They're coming here for you. Why don't you go out the back door? I got to take this lady to the doctors. She got to get to the hospital.
Why did he even
Fortunately,
do it? What provoked him to even not that anything would be okay with that? But why did he do that?
what?
Why did he like
I don't know.
mess
They
up?
had an argument, and he just and his name, Lorenzo Morales. He was the underboss to Pablo Escobar.
Uh-huh.
He
Yeah,
was
that's
doing all the business in Vegas. I didn't know the guy.
okay.
So now I go to him and I said, "You got to get out of here." He said, "No, man." I said, "No, man. Where the hell are you from?" He said, "You don't want to know." And I didn't know he still had the bottle in his hand.
Oh, he still had the broken okay. All
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
So he goes to the girl and he spins around to get me at my throat. I go back and he hits me along here, 81 stitches. My chin is hanging.
Oh,
And I'm saying to myself, how am I going to diffuse this one?
yeah, good luck with that. Yeah. I mean, he tried to
So I
kill you
said
right
to him,
there.
you're not going to believe what I said to this guy. I said, look what you did to my shirt. This is Sea Island cotton. I waited 6 months for this shirt. And he's looking at me. He knows I'm bleeding. The blood's coming out of me. He says, this guy's worried about a shirt. So I had to defuse him for a minute to get to my gun. I had a gun, but I just can't make a fast move. This guy would have cut me off. I get to the gun. I put it right to his forehead. I said, now you're going to leave or what? He's F you. I said, F me. I put 2 right between his eyes. He's looking at me. The blood's coming down his face, and he's touching it. I knew right then and there I had to get a bigger caliber gun. This was only a 22 because I used to carry in my vest.
But you
From that
shot
day
him in
on,
the
I carried
head. I mean,
38.
yeah, but you shot him in the head. I mean, even if it's a small caliber, that's pretty impressive that he would just
Yeah,
sit
but he
there.
was so high on coke. The coroner said you have to shoot him behind the neck. That's why they shoot you there, cut you
Because
down
it
right away.
takes a while for it to
Right.
register, right? Okay.
So I find out the guy's a Marilito. So what's that? They said, well, for his family to come avenge you, they're going to kill your pets, your children, and everything. I said, well, I
The
wasn't going to stand for
cartel.
that.
Yeah, the
Yep.
cartel, though, of
Yep.
course. Yeah.
So I fly to see John Gotti. Now he's the boss. And he hates me because he loved O'Neill. O'Neill loved me. He could never understand why I got more respect than he did,
That's
but he
saying
didn't know
something.
the whole story of
What
the
year are
tour.
we talking about? Where are we at for
Now we're in the 80s.
so if he was the boss already, that's
Oh,
85,
yeah,
right?
no, he was
Maybe
boss
85.
already.
Okay. Right.
So, long story short, it's all over the news that I killed this guy. He's now you're a killer, not of this. I said, John, it has nothing to do with anything else. This guy I found out is a Marilito. I got to go to Colombia. He's what? I said, I'm going to go to Colombia. He's, you want to go to Colombia? He said, how about this? I'm going to buy you the ticket. He did.
John
He
Gotti
bought me
bought
a
you the
one-way
ticket.
ticket
He
thinking I
probably
wasn't coming back.
yeah, exactly. He probably figured, okay, hasta luego there. You're not coming back. He probably thought you were ubats for even wanting to
Oh,
go
yeah.
down
Well,
there.
the reason I went, I didn't want my kids to get involved in this and get killed.
Right. Of course. Of
So I
course.
go there, and the only comfort I had was going to meet him in a church. They set up a meeting for us. So I go there. I'm walking down the aisle, and as I'm walking past these pews, You hear them cracking, and his men are sitting up with the rifles. He had about 20 guys in there. I go to the altar. He says, "You Gianni Russo?" I said, "Yeah." That's the last thing I remembered. Somebody hit me from behind.
Uh-huh.
Next thing, I'm in the prison he built 3 stories below his house. There's body bags around me. I'm totally nude. I don't even know how long I've been sitting in the chair. A
This
guy shows up, not
Yeah,
in
this is in
fatigues,
Colombia. You're
in
in
Colombia,
Colombia in his jail.
Bogota, Bogota, Colombia.
God.
The guy shows up to me well dressed, and he
Uh,
has the making of the Godfather in his hand, the book. And I'm sitting, that's all I see.
Pablo Escobar was the
Yeah,
well-dressed guy you're talking about, showed up
right.
down to the jail cell with a manuscript from The Godfather.
The making of the Godfather.
This is amazing.
He said, "Why don't you tell me you were Carlo? Get him cleaned up and bring him up to the house." 2 hours later, I'm in his dining room with Pablo Escobar. You can't make this stuff up. It's like,
No, I mean, so being Carlo, which coincidentally you get killed in the movie, saved you from really getting killed in real life. Do I have
so
all that
many
right there?
times. I mean, I could go on and on. I met Saddam Hussein. I met everybody because I got 3 different passports. I got an Italian passport, a Mexican passport.
You have
So
3
I travel.
passports and,
Yeah,
9 lives apparently too. I mean,
yeah.
that's
Hello.
and we're talking about Pablo Escobar, that guy, if someone sneezed,
Oh
he would
yeah.
have him whacked out, and he brings a manuscript of The Godfather. That saved your man, Carlo, you are Carlo Rizzi, just like Stallone is Rocky, you are Carlo Rizzi through and through. It saved your life. He is your alter ego, and,
No. So how
wow.
the story went? He says to me, "Why are you here?" I said, "Well, I have a daughter, Gia, and you have a daughter, Gina, the same age.
Mm,
And I know that to avenge Morales' death, they're going to kill my kids." I said, "Now, if somebody's going to kill your kid, wouldn't you be here?" He got up and he walked from the other end of the table. I don't know if he was going to stick a knife in me or whatever. He grabbed me and kissed me. He said, "There's few men like us. Go home. I'll take care of this." Are you
really?
kidding me? He said,
Wow.
"No, go. But before you go, could you do me a favor?" I said, "Oh, here we go." I said, "Yeah, what do you want?" He's remember the closing scene that we just watched, you and I, with Pacino? He wants to play the scene.
He wants
And
to
I'm
do the
saying
scene
this
with you,
how
and then he'll let you
this
leave.
is how the guy's gonna kill me.
Yeah, right. Again, same
Again.
scene
So I
again.
said, "You
Alright.
want me to write down the lines?" He said, "No, I know all the lines."
Wow.
He's come up here and he puts me where he was sitting. He gets a couple of the guys, he goes to the door like Pacino when he walks in. He does the whole scene, gives me the airline ticket. Now I'm telling you, I'm gonna lose it. Because I figure when I walk outside, that's how he's gonna kill me.
So Pacino is being he's so Pablo Escobar, for those that
Right,
are listening and watching, just so that we could get a little bit of a because this is unbelievable. So Pablo Escobar is playing Al Pacino's part of Michael Corleone. You are playing Carlo Rizzi a second time
right.
with him in Bogota. That's your key, so to speak, to get you out of where you are, to keep your family safe, to let everyone just say, in essence, pretty much forget about it. It's
Right.
you killed my henchman, but I appreciate that you're a dad and trying to do what you do. And he respected the fact that you didn't wimp out. And Gotti sends you down. This is unbelievable. Gotti pays for it, sends you down, thinking he's not going to see you anymore because he doesn't
And
like
he
you.
loved the idea that was going to be because we're all hanging out in regimes and he hated getting upstage. He's hanging out with his guys. I'd
Yeah.
come in, they played a theme from The Godfather. He'd get pissed.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, so he thinking that like this is the best money I ever spent. He's probably thinking, and we're gonna never see, Johnny Russo ever again. Meanwhile, you're playing. I, 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 I can't even wrap my head around it, Gianni. This is unbelievable. No, I mean it is believable, but man, you
No, it's
must have
hard to believe.
9 lives. Carlo Rizzi saves you. A guy
Yeah,
that dies in a movie saves your life for real. This is you can't make
yeah,
this stuff up. I mean, you
no.
just can't.
And when we walk to the car, he opens the door for me. He's playing Clemenza. I mean, not Clemenza, the kid that walked me out, fat kid Philly. And
Oh,
he
right,
opens the
right. Yeah,
door.
yeah.
I get in the car. As soon as I sit down, all his men said, "Hello, Carlo." They
Oh,
bust out laughing. They said, "Get out of here, get out. We'll take care of it."
You must have been. Did you soil yourself on that? Because here you are getting in the car thinking,
Did I ever forget about it?
forget about it is right. Oh my
I
God.
think that's a good way to end this interview. This is the
I,
longest interview I ever did.
I'll be tell you something. It's got to be the greatest one for me too, because I'm sitting there like a little kid going, I can't believe all this.
Yeah,
But
it's amazing.
that's
Well, it is hard
amazing.
to believe. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, the fact that you're doing as well as you're doing, and even at your age, you're still going strong the way that you are. I mean, you're not just kind of, I'll sign an autograph here, or I'll make an appearance here. You're all over the place. You're here, you're in LA, you're in Manhattan, you're
Oh
in
yeah,
Jersey,
oh yeah. Thank
and
God.
then now we have thousands and thousands of people that heard you say. I think you pretty much affirmed that you're going to take me with you when you go down to Corleone. Didn't you say that? Anybody hear
Sure,
that
why
other
not?
than me?
Come
Yeah.
on.
All right. Thanks, man. Come on. I'm just a
I fly privately too, so it's be easier to do it.
well, if I'm with you, I get to be the kid. We can reenact that part of it. I'll be the kid. I just like I said, I just want to be the guy. Forget about the Godfather and everything else. I just want to be the guy that hung out and had relations with Marilyn Monroe. I've got to tell you, and I know that's crazy. Out of all the stuff that you've done and continue to do, that's got to be the most impressive to me. You hang out with Frank Sinatra, John Gotti, Pablo Escobar. I mean, Marlon Brando. I mean, the list goes. Zsa Zsa Gabor. We forgot all about her, didn't we?
Oh yeah, we'll leave that for another time.
Yeah, that'll be for another. I mean, this would go on for forever. But it's all good stuff. I can't. I mean, I can't thank you enough, and I know our listeners and our viewers are going to get a absolute kick out of this because, hey, we talk about whatever. This is the meme machine, and you're definitely meme machine material, sir.
All right.
Thank you
Well,
so much,
thank
Gianni.
you, and
Thanks for the
thank your
time.
audience. I appreciate it. And
Oh yeah. Oh, you'll definitely be back, and we're gonna go have macaroni. Remember, we all because we're Italian, we eat like 2 o'clock on Sunday. You're cool with that, right?
I don't get up until 2 o'clock on Sunday.
I want some of that. I want the jar. Well, we call it Sunday gravy, but you have jarred sauce, the Clemenza. What is it called again? The
Yeah,
one
go
that
online and see it all. I got Clemenza's meat sauce in the jar. I got Fredo's Alfredo sauce. Forget about it.
God, if he's not the coolest Italian guy in the world, I don't know who is. Gianni, thank you so much, sir. We will see you again, and I'll talk to you real soon.
All right, please. Thank you
All
so
right.
much. I
Oh,
appreciate it.
thank
All right,
you.
bye
All
now.
right.
Bye.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Mr. Gianni Russo. He's like the coolest guy though, too. He's like very down to earth. I mean, he has done things that we can only, well, a lot of us, especially an Italian kid from Jersey like me, we can only dream of. Like just dream. I mean, I don't even think my dreams are big enough. This guy lived it. By the time he was 12, he did so many impressive things. I feel like I did nothing in my life after hearing that. How cool is that? Marilyn Monroe, and then oh, by the way, Frank Costello is waiting for you, and we have to go talk to Sam G. Economy. This guy did that. He's the real deal, and he was right here on my show. Uh, some people are lucky, and some people are blessed. I guess I'm both because that was awesome. What a great interview, and I have to thank him again personally, and I will. Gianni Russo, Carlo Rizzi, and I got to watch The Godfather with him. How cool is that? Rock on, Gianni. That was awesome. I'd like to thank everybody for listening and watching. Don't forget, you can drop me a line directly at Gregory Joseph at memachineradio.com. You can contact me through WGAT in New Jersey 88.6 FM. That's where we are, right here in the great Garden State of New